Howdy, fellas.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Hello, sirs.
Anakin, it's
Hello,
nice
everyone.
to see you.
There's a red tint on my camera now as well to suit the Optimism theme.
It doesn't nice. I got my shirt on.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, where did you find it? It's pretty
It's
cool.
on. There's someone in the Optimism community who makes OP merch,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's really cool. Maybe I'll drop the link in the chat
Yeah.
for people at some point.
I have
But
a couple of his shirts. They're really dope.
They're great. I'm waiting
I'm jealous,
for.
sir.
Yeah, I'll send you one.
Yeah, that would be cool. Very cool.
Yeah, what I like is you can pay with obviously you just pay with USDC on, I think you can pay on Polygon, but it's great because I got a bunch of cash on chain and I don't want to move it around. So anyways, buying clothes
my
with cash
shirts.
on chain is nice.
Exit liquidity. T-shirt drop shippers. This is
Yeah. I'm
all
bullish.
right.
Can I
I'll
pay
let
with
you. What?
Can I pay with Sonne or?
Maybe you can write a proposal for the foundation.
Hello, sirs. I have family to feed, and they all need T-shirts, Optimism T-shirts.
Yeah, I
Can't
have a
just
family
pay.
to clothe. I want to add real utility. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I don't know who's watching, but welcome if you are. We are live today with Anakin from Sonne Finance. It is Sonne, right? It's not Son.
Yeah, it's Sonne.
Sonne. Cool. Yeah, and we're going to be talking about obviously Sonne and DeFi lending and optimism and all that cool stuff. So welcome y'all. Anakin, I'm going to start you off by just asking you to introduce yourself, and maybe if you want to tell us how you got into DeFi, what your journey was, and what led you to Sonne.
Yeah. Hello, sirs, and hello, everyone. So I'm Atakan, the team lead of Sonne Finance, which is basically a lending protocol, the first and only native lending protocol on Optimism. We are we are basically a compound fork on the backend, but we have this unique bribe reward tokenomics that we leverage Veldron, and it worked. It worked on at least two chains, and some other folks are forking this strategy. So we are happy and unhappy at the same time because they're stealing our idea, but at least it's working. So, and it's it's, how can I say, I'm proud to be forked. So yeah. And my journey started at 2015 for crypto. I was one of the oldest members of Reddit Ethereum community members at the time. Then I went back, I passed away from crypto at 2017 because that ICO boom, everything felt bad for me. Everything started to look like there are so many Ponzi tokens at the time, so I felt bad, and came back at in 2020, I think, with I don't know if you remember, but we were farming yam. There was something called yam, and we were farming it. I was trying to understand, I didn't understand anything at the time, but it was it was a start of a journey for me. Then I became addicted to listening to Under Kronya at the time, and he made me in love with Phantom at the time, and I was also one of the oldest video makers, DeFi educators, something like that, at Phantom, and that's how I know Justin Bieber, from old Fanti days. And at the time, Andre made a project called Solidly. Probably we all know it. And like after that Spider-Man Batman things, I think he got very angry or something. I don't know. He just terminated, and Velodrome took the idea. And like at the time on Phantom, we have like I personally like was thinking about launching a project on Solidly or Solidly Fork. It doesn't matter, because like it's like, you know, when you bribe it, you get more emissions than what you bribed generally. And this model only works if there are too many projects trying to fight for the governance or bribes or emissions, and it works on Veldron, for example, but it doesn't work on other projects, other blockchains, because like there's no fight there. And I had this idea of launching a project on Solidly at the time, but Solidly got terminated, so we were looking for Solidly forks. And on Optimism, like there was Veldron, of course, and they were doing an incredible job at the time. And we thought that, like, what does Optimism needs? Like, we will going to launch a project on Optimism because like this model just is too profitable. And like, what is needed on Optimism? We thought that there was no native landing protocol, and people probably will need it because like Aave will like once they run out of incentives, OP incentives they get from the Optimism Foundation, people will just leave the Optimism with their money. And we thought that this is like pretty good idea to launch the first native landing protocol on Optimism, and we merged those two ideas of having that bribe reward, like distributing everything with stakers tokenomics with on top of landing. And like at the time we hoped that it will work, and it worked. So we are here, sir. Like after that, we are here. We made some improvements. We are very like we are trying and working hard to make our UI very easy for even the newcomers, because like we are expecting like many newcomers in 6 to 7 months, just because of like there's a Bitcoin halving in the way, and everyone knows what happens. And like there's a fly in my room. Everyone knows what happens when there's a halving. So yeah, we are expecting a huge flow of newcomers to the space, and we are trying to make it as easy as possible. And yes, sir, that's me and my journey.
Nice.
What a story! What a story! Yeah,
Sonne was the first Optimism launch that I participated in. It was pretty exciting. It seemed like a real turning point on the network for like native projects and whatnot. I think that's still something Optimism lacks, is like new, vibrant, like native projects, because right now it's like everybody on the chain, or most people on the chain, are just on there from somewhere else. You know, our projects included, and you know, Optimism is only seeing a small fraction of value coming from that. So I think what makes a network really shine are projects that are born and bred and grow native to the chain, because that's so much value that is kept within the chain and within the local economy. So Sonne has been super duper important, I think, for everything. Like we use Sonne on Reaper, we use Sonne on Ethos Reserve, and we're probably going to tap into Sonne with Digit and more products like that. And I know a lot of people think the same thing. It's, you know, kind of the yield standby on Optimism.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, in terms of Velodrome, they're like, my thought process with the Solidly all the Solidly forks, has shifted towards they're like kind of like a B2B protocol because of how much they benefit other protocols with like the bribe efficiency. So yeah, it's been nice to see Velodrome just like take off, and it's done a lot for the Optimism ecosystem and brought projects like Sonne to Optimism and helped them be successful. So yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I
they're
think-
doing a great job. And the I think the importance of Velodrome, for example, we also forked on Kava as Mare, and there was Equilibra there, and like the importance of Velodrome came to my eyes in the event of that Kava thing, because like Equilibra gathered all the protocols into one chain because like they were talking to other protocols, they were offering VNFTs for them to start, they were offering some good yield. Like after the multi-chain issue, of course, Kava side is not looking very good for now, at least, but at the time it's created a huge hype. And yeah, the importance of those protocols is like that communication. We don't have any network on Optimism at the time, and Velodrome guys helped like a lot to us.
It serves as like a nice centerpiece, a good exchange like that.
Yeah,
I think I almost wish. I mean, not to say Velodrome doesn't serve, these opportunities really well, but I look at Arbitrum and I see GMX being the headliner, like centerpiece of the network that people are building on and building around. And Velodrome is that for onboarding teams to the network. And then I see Camelot as the let's actually bootstrap brand new protocols. And I'd be interested in a secondary exchange focused less on bringing players onto the network and more on launching players and launching new teams and ecosystems. I think that would be super exciting and help Optimism really kind of rise up and compete. Just like us, something for the little guys, I think would be really powerful.
Well,
yes,
on the topic of project support and project support, you guys recently, like this week, launched OP incentives. Is that right? So
yes, sir.
Yeah, so you were accepted for some incentive matching, and I wonder if you can just talk about that process a little bit, and maybe a few details on the incentive program you got going on.
So like I think we applied for the first time in like maybe 6 months ago to governance of Optimism at the time, because like we thought that we were the only native protocol and we would get instant support from everyone, but there was nothing like that. Everyone just said that like what is your difference from Aave, what is your importance to network, like you are distributing too much incentives for now, what happens 2 months later, etc. And yeah, we got rejected. Actually, not rejected, but didn't get the support of even 2 ambassadors. At the time, you will need 2 ambassadors for you to just eligible for voting. And we didn't even get 2 ambassadors at the time. Then we prepared hard with Jack Anorak from Velodrome. We got helped, he helped us a lot at the time. And we just we spent, I think, 1 month to write a proposal to governance of Optimism, and realized that the thing is now different on governance. And they said that okay, we will just give you some points, and if you have enough points, you will get the OP incentives. And I think this process was a lot better, because like it was very easy, but I think they changed again to be a little bit harder. Like they're trying to find the best way, but the most optimized way. But yeah, like the maximum grant you can get was 250k OP, and we just just like wrote it for the max, because like we were thinking about like 500K to 1 million OP before we sold that maximum amount. And like even if you look at our protocol, like the OP incentives is seen as very low, because the TVL on Sonne is a little bit high, like compared to other protocols that apply for the same grant. But we didn't have like any other chance for that. So yeah, we applied for the grant, and we got selected as grant receiver, grant taker, and we our plan is to distribute 40% to for supply incentives and 40% for borrowing incentives, 10% to Velodrome bribe, and 10% to stakers, and that way we can have more like comfortable onboarding of new people that can have ease of like staking, or they can try out Velodrome at least. And I think the most important part of this grant is not the amount, not the incentives, but it's the reputation we get from just having the grant. There were some better news from us that got like basically no social interaction, but like having like maybe just 5% or 10% more incentives like has more news to people, because like they see, oh, this project got rewarded by OP Foundation or OP governance, and they must be good, so let's try it. So marketing aspect of this whole grant thing is actually more worthy for us than the amount we get from the grant.
Yeah, it's funny because like you know, talking about that first governance proposal of yours, you know, you look at Sonne, like you look at it as simply as possible, and unfortunately nobody, like, you know, no delegates are looking at it simply. It's like they're pumping millions of dollars of value onto the chain. They're onboarding millions of dollars. They're onboarding hundreds and hundreds of users. You know, the actual material impact when you look at onboarding costs for capital and for DeFi as a whole, like, you know, you're essentially like blasting the network with value, and then they're like, well, it won't last forever, so fuck you, die. You know, it's like it's kind of a really silly outlook to me. It reminds me of like people were saying the same thing about Velodrome, and it's like what do you think? Where do you think users come from? Where do you think value comes from? Where do you think? How do you think projects onboard? You know, they're not onboarding because they feel like it. They're onboarding because here's this new center of value, and it doesn't matter if it's hemorrhaging money. That's the cost of onboarding, you know, and creating these token economies is a way to totally slash onboarding costs for a network to a tiny fraction. And now Sonne is doing that to a huge degree. And I think, you know, you definitely have our team's props. I know we've been farming it, our whole team as individuals, and our products have been farming the hell out of Sonne. I think everybody's been, you know, super excited about it. And I think like you definitely set a really positive standard. Like, you know, now to compete, Granary, for example, needs to be emitting a lot of incentives. So now you have this other locus that's competing on yield, and now you have more users, more liquidity flooding in, rates rising, and Optimism becoming overall more competitive. And that's the really huge thing, and that's the standard I think Sonne sets, and that, you know, I would implore governors to recognize that and continue supporting because this massive. Now, my lunch got here 20 minutes ago, and I need to eat it. So I'm going to leave you, Charles, and Anakin for 15 minutes, if you don't mind, to chat it out.
Yeah, no problem.
No worries. All right. Eat your food, eat sustenance. That's funny. Yeah, so users, listeners, listening now and in the future, I believe, are all of the markets incentivized with OP right now?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we don't incentivize all markets because like some markets were less efficient than others, and
Yeah, that
we
makes sense.
calculate the efficiency of all the markets, and we just cut the least 4 or 5. I'm not sure. I think 6 markets got incentives, but 4 markets didn't get it because
Right,
like they
okay.
were already like inefficient.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, you've got wrapped ETH, USDC, USDT, DAI, OP, and wrapped Bitcoin. Those are all incentivized on the supply and on the borrow side on Sonne Finance. So people, check it out. Do some lending, do some borrowing, short this big pump. No, I'm kidding. This isn't financial advice. But yeah, very, very cool. So I wanted to know your thoughts on like optimizing incentives on lending platforms, because, and you kind of alluded to this a second ago, where some markets are more efficient than others. And okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is basically the utilization is very high, right? For people who are supplying, if a market's being efficient, that will mean that there are lots of borrowers who are also coming in, and there's a high utilization. So the protocol collects lots of fees. A lot of the funds are being used, not just like sitting there. Is that the main criteria for which markets you decide to incentivize? And I don't know, do you have any other thoughts on incentivizing lending markets in general?
So that's a like really great question, and it hasn't been asked before. So like
Wow.
I'm surprised that no one asked that before.
Yeah.
And also props to you for asking it.
Thank you.
Like it's a very like complicated and hard process because like there's not like one thing. Like if this market is getting us too many like too much fees, we will incentivize. It's not working like that because like sometimes we we want less utilization because like we also want to have liquidity for tokens. For example, I don't know if you followed the like issue of multi-chain, but everything like every Kava token was borrowed on Mare Finance at the time because like no one was like able to withdraw their USDC, USDT, everything was multi-chain assets, but Kava, so everyone borrowed it, and that was a huge problem for us at the time. And like we will do anything for people to just put Kava tokens. Actually, we asked Kava Labs to do it, but they didn't at the time. But they were very happy to put 50 million Kavas into Kava Land. That's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like yeah, the fees are not the most important. Like there are some huge important like tokens in the protocol, right? The stable coins, like stablecoin liquidity have to be there, even if they're inefficient, even if they're like even if they don't bring us any fees, they have to be there because like when a borrower comes to a lending platform, the first thing they look at is, well, what is the USDC liquidity at the protocol. So like or if USDC is liquidity is low, what is the USDC or USDT? What is the DAI liquidity at the protocol? Like the stablecoin thing is very important, and we have to incentivize people to just supply stablecoins into our protocol, but because like it's the most essential thing. And the second thing is like there's a kink that that has been the standard for a long time for lending platforms. Like it's 8% for most of the tokens, and we want tokens to be borrowed less than 8% with less than 8% utilization, because upper than 8% presents some bad debt risk to us, and we don't want that. So we sometimes decrease incentivization when token is borrowed highly. And third is, of course, the fees, because like some markets has higher reserve factors, higher risk, and we want some good fees that we can share with the stakers, so we can fuel this incentivization for at least a long time. So like even after like our token incentivization ends, because like it's not gonna be there for like 10 years, 20 years. It's just there for 2 years more. So we also want everyone to be able to at least get those incentives to be on Optimism and Sonne and use the protocol. So yeah, like it's very complicated process, and there's not one thing that we have to calculate. But yeah, fees also are very important, because like it's also fueling us. We are also staker. We don't have salaries. We just stake our tokens and hope for the best. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good way to align like builder and user incentives.
Yeah.
Like, well, we also hold the tokens, so it's not we're gonna do everything that we can to make the project successful.
Yeah, of course,
You know?
of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes when token price goes down, people are asking like, well, like what are you going to do? Why don't you work? Like we are working, it's all our do, because like if we don't work, if token price goes hell, we also goes to hell. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool. Good answer. I'm assuming there's some sort of like trial and error process, you know, like
yeah.
Is there anything, I'll throw you a random question I just thought of now, but is there anything that you've learned in this area since you started? Like there's been some trial and error, but yeah, what's worked and what hasn't worked
For
in the
incentives
past?
or
yeah.
uh,
I
for
guess
incentives or general?
incentivizing markets.
So what has worked is like people like farming, and they love the idea of farming. So it brings a lot of attention to the protocol. Like, and if you can just hold the price, they are surprised that they are getting these incentives for a long time, and they're telling their friends, their followers, or whoever listens to them, and the protocol just like spreads out very nicely. That's one thing we learned. The second thing is like incentivizing risky markets is very risky. For example, we incentivized SNX market a lot at the time, because like we thought that Synthetics is a like huge protocol and a partner, and we were talking with Synthetics team, but they didn't even like put a retweet. And when I hopped into their Discord to just like say that SNX incentivization begin, someone from their Discord just told me like you are something like others. There was a protocol got hacked at the time, and they accused us something similar to that. Like, are you gonna take all the tokens, etc., etc.? And it wasn't a good time to be there, to be honest. And no one supplied a good amount of SNX to the Sonne, and like there weren't any support as the ambassadors promised at the time, so it was hard time. Also, some, for example, actually the same token SUSD, like the token from the same team, SUSD, like lacked the support, lacked the social spread, and like for some reason no one was depositing SUSD, even with like at one point SUSD market had like 25% reward APR for supplying, and something more than borrowing APR. Then like we thought that why is no one supplying to here, like somebody has to, so we had to decrease the incentives. And the third thing is like we after some time we always looking for ways that we can get back at least something from the partner. Like we ask for socials, we ask for spaces, we ask for some tokens that we can distribute to stakers. We ask for things in case of like because like when you want to go to some centralized exchange or decentralized exchange, when you want to list your token on their exchange, they are always asking for something, and we thought that why don't we ask something from the partner protocols, and like after these example we started doing that. And yeah, like trial is very important part as well, because like sometimes we think something, we want to execute it, but in the end it's not like it doesn't end up in the way that we think, so we have to fix it again. And yeah. Actually, we were talking with our team that our lead developer was in the gaming business like 4 or 5 years ago, and he was saying that like working on crypto and blockchain is very hard, because like you don't have you don't have any chance to make mistakes. You know, like you have to check everything 5 times, 10 times. Like even if like I don't code, I don't understand coding, but sometimes I just like, can you share screen with me so I can check? Like, what do I check? I don't know, but I sometimes check something. I don't. Maybe he feels someone is watching him, so he's more precise with his coding. I don't know, but like for example, if you want to just make a game, you just make it. If people don't like it, you can just like take it back from the market, fix it, or ship it again, or ship the like same game with different names. I don't know. But in DeFi, when you make one mistake, like $5 million, $10 million is gone, and you can do anything, and it's very hard.
Yeah, it's the stakes are very high, because it's like people's finances on the line. And yeah, I mean, experience in any industry is probably like the most valuable, you know, thing that any individual can have. Like I think experience outweighs like skill set in a lot of areas. And DeFi is like a very prime example of that. I think just being in the industry and just trying to see how things work, because even then there's like some level of behavior that people do that's just completely random, you know, or like there's always going to be some component that just like is not accountable for. So yeah, lots of trial and error and lots of experience, I think, leads to growth. But
and as you said, like I learned everything from just like reading white papers or just clicking some buttons. Like some projects were like cookie clicker. I don't know if you remember Hyperjump at the time, but it was offering like 1 trillion APR. And you have to like make max to farm Ori, or Ori was making like, I was literally I thought that like I wasn't I didn't have money at the time, and I thought that like I calculated like I'm gonna earn $10,000 just this night if I don't sleep. Okay, does my sleep worth $10,000? It's not. So I don't like. I must not sleep, and I have to click buttons. And for 10 hours, I promise for 10 hours. For 10 hours, I just click buttons to farm Mac Ori. Actually, I got less than what I expected, like, but it was still worth it. And my father like woke up in the morning. At the time, I was like staying with my family, and he just like tried to like wake me up, because like I was sleeping like this like my eyes were closing, but
Still
I was
clicking.
still clicking. Yeah, still clicking focus, because like I remember every place that I click. So yeah, like
remember that
how can I explain this to anyone that isn't from DeFi, or like anyone that doesn't use? But there was like many great lessons that I learned from just that hyper jump example. I actually wrote a thread at the time, because like at least I take like 6 to 7 lessons from just one protocol. Like imagine that a new company is created in real world, okay, and it evolves, it grows a lot. Like it's now worth tens of, like maybe $100 million company, and it gets slowly like slowly getting to shrink, and it fails at the end. Like in real world, it takes like what, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, but in DeFi it's like just one day it all happens, and it's like absurd, but yeah, it's what it is. And we all love degeneracy, and I see all of the like DeFi degens, also myself, as monkeys, and we were like monkey at the time. We were trying to learn everything at the same time, because like no one can educate us. No one could educate us at the time, because no one was knowing anything, and we had to learn it all by ourselves. And like even this protocol, even Sonne Finance, or everything that we are making is coming from that experience. Like for me, finance was just like a hobby. I have a grade on, I have a degree on civil engineering. Like I'm an engineer. Like I don't know code. I didn't learn like at least high level of finance in the school at the university, but I always educated myself at the topic, because like I was loving it. But all of these knowledge and processes or things that we launch are coming from just an experience. Like I was trying, I was learning, I was watching, I was reading, etc.
Yeah. The efficiency at which information gets shared in crypto is amazing, but it also is not amazing when you can explode a project in a day. It's like everybody knows immediately. That's a good story. I was thinking about the classic problem of infinite monkeys clicking infinite buttons make infinite APY.
Eventually you'll be able to write the Bible or whatever. That my first experience at a con was on Ethereum Orb V2. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a project called Orb, wherein it was the same thing. It was like, you need to stake to earn Orb. There's some sort of weird vesting mechanism. And I mean, it was really a way to create exit liquidity and scam people. And I didn't participate. I just watched. But, seeding a pool with an insanely highly priced token, tricking people into LP it, and then dumping on them as team developers was like all of 2020 into early 2022. It was just that over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I was like, less a founder or business leader, or more of just like a guy that was in all the discords, researching. And I remember there was a point where like, I took it upon myself to warn people that this was about to happen in like every Discord, because these projects after YFI, there were probably about 20 projects where they just put Y in front of anything, and then it was just a weird token farming scam. And I would surf from project to project trying to call out BS, and that's kind of how I started. Talking to people around DeFi and getting involved in communities, was just like trying to learn this stuff as quickly as possible, because it was extremely obvious that there was huge amounts of money to be made. And then, grouping up with people with similar values. And eventually, that led to Byte Masons, that led to all the protocols we developed today. And it's really like DeFi at its absolute most fun is the degeneracy that Attican was talking about. Like I remember the day Hyperjump launched, like it was yesterday. You know, it was you know, we're in different time zones. So for me, it was like midday. You know, we were going crazy. Like all of the founding members of our team were just in their underpants, like doing this all day. Like, oh my god! And it was really awesome. But yeah, it's like, you know, now we're like, okay, boring. How can we? Everybody is jaded now. Everybody knows what they're doing. How can we build sustainability and capture that same sort of experience, which is hard, borderline impossible. But yeah, Iron Finance, that was the Polygon equivalent to some of the Phantom shenanigans at the time. Like, dude, people, it was like 1% a day on a stable coin. Oh, that's my door. 1% a day on a stable coin. It's like, whoa, of course this makes sense. You know, this is the most sustainable thing ever.
Even Mark Cuban put money on Iron Finance. It's like,
oh yeah, dude, that was a crazy time. Mark Cuban like going around eating money into everything. That was,
That's so weird. So weird.
Yeah.
It's
he created
now
pool 3
everybody-
at the time. Like there were pool 2s, but he created a pool 3. And like so someone was like someone made that great meme of like there's a brain that gets a bigger airframe, you know that meme, and at the bottom there was Mark Cuban that created pool 3 with Iron Titan pool that like that had no incentivization but making huge amount of fees because like people were trading between Iron and Titan just on Mark Cuban's pool. And it's just crazy times, yeah.
Yeah,
it sucks.
madness.
It sucks to have to grow up. You have to put
Yeah,
on some big boy
it
pants.
certainly does. It's a much
no
more
fun.
mature market now. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's still not where it needs to be. It's still not efficient, you know. Like you'll have crazy arbitrage opportunities, whether it be yield opportunities or price divergence, just sitting around for like days and days. And liquidity is so fragmented. You know, I think, you know, we run into this problem with Granary, for example, where we're on all these chains, emitting all these tokens, doing this and that, and you know, building focus onto one opportunity or building even something as simple as price parity across all the chains is like close to impossible in any kind of concise time frame. And I think that's, you know, going back to, you know, why is Sonne so successful as a native protocol? It's like super focused, one thing, here we go, here we're doing it. And I think, like, you know, in terms of observing the growth of lending protocols, I think Sonne provides a really strong example for how you can, in 2023, create a native, pretty sustainable farming experience. Because how long has it been, Attican? Like,
I think we are entering the ninth month.
Crazy,
Something like that.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And definitely something to like study.
Yeah, you guys have been going
really
really strong. Let's keep moving it forward. I want to talk about interest rate curves a little bit, and get your thoughts on that. What is the interest rate model that Sonne uses? Could you? Is it the jump rate?
Yeah.
Is that the interest rate model? Okay, cool. I was gonna ask you if you had any, and Bebis, you could probably have some thoughts on this as well. But have you ever thought about how the interest model could be improved? I was thinking about maybe like a dynamic interest rate model that is sort of curves the like the increase with utilization, and that isn't so jagged, and sort of the inflection point is just like smoothed over this curve. I think there are a couple lending protocols that do that. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on interest rate models in general, and how they might be improved in the future?
So, like, as you say, we use jump rate models. And actually, I'm surprised that this is also getting asked. Like, I'm also getting asked this question for the first time. Like, it's surprising, but yeah. Like, we use jump rate models, and it's a thing that Compound uses for tokens. And I think it's like, I thought about it, and I think that it's the standard model because it works very well. Like, you don't want like utilization going higher than 8%, 85%. Like 8% is just an arbitrary number. Like someone can ask why isn't like 78.5%, or someone can ask why isn't it 82.8%. I don't know. It's an arbitrary number, but like at least it symbolizes that thing that you don't want utilization after some point. And they decided at the time at 8%, and we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we went with the same model. But after this like 10 months, 9 months, 10 months experience, I can say that like this model of course can be improved. On Sonne we have 5 different interest rate models for 5 different type of tokens. Like you can just say it like stable interest rate model, like medium, how can I say, like between stable and medium volatility, between medium and high volatility, and high volatility interest rate curves. But what we was thinking was exactly what you said. Like, I think it can be improved. Like, can you? Yeah, I can. Like, if it can be improved like this instead of this, I think it will be better. But the thing is, it's very easy to calculate this instead of this curve, because like it's very easy to try it out. It's very easy to change. Like, for example, you just tried that C curve, but it failed. Like you don't even know what part of that formula failed, because like it's maybe like x over 3 or maybe x over 4 thing. I don't know. We also tried to make S curve for interest rate models, but it was too complicated that even we couldn't calculate the interest rate model at like X amount of utilization. So we thought that no one would understand at least the calculation part of it. So
like a sigmoid
idea. So we stick. Excuse me.
Yeah,
It's an like S. Yeah.
like a sigma. We were doing the same thing for Granary and for Reliquary. We never actually pushed the implementation, but if you want to give it a try, we have a solidity sigmoid function. It's an approximation, but it behaves really well. We were like doing Kelly series and stuff like that, trying to approximate it accurately. And the lead developer of Reliquary just like one night implemented it, and we were like, oh wow. So you're welcome to give that a try. We're kind of like, the Granary team, like we basically have the stablecoin interest rate curve, we have the volatile asset interest rate curve because we're really boring, and then we have an interest rate curve that is designed to be a little bit smoother, as opposed to, hey, we're at 70%, crank it up, or hey, we're at 80%, crank it up. Instead, like really gradually, because we were having trouble with liquid staking token leveragers. The problem is at the point of optimal utilization, you'd like flip to curve number 2, like flip between curve number 1 and curve number 2 constantly. Every time someone entered or exited or wound down their position, because everybody was so over leveraged, it would just like be impossible. Like the UX would be total ass. So we lifted some math from a Delphi digital article to create a more like smooth, gradual increase, which, I mean, carries its own risks, because honestly, like the punch in the face at the optimal utilization rate, I feel like is pretty useful. But I mean, the thing is, like, I see eventually, once the market is bigger, like there are going to be lending protocols that are absolutely designed to have the really smooth and forgiving interest rate curves. And then there are going to be protocols designed otherwise. And, you know, a lot of the stuff we're working on with Granary V2 is like, you know, one, how can you isolate assets, interest rate curves, and risk profiles in such a way that an interest rate curve might look different depending on which asset you're lending with and which asset you're borrowing, or an LTV might look different. And we see, like, you know, right now, and I think you're in the same boat, Atikin. It's like when you're a lending protocol, like risk manager, very few assets are worth adding. Very few assets fit the bill, and there could be a really profitable market supporting certain assets, but at the end of the day, it's like you need to create an ecosystem for like the bulk of the audience, and the bulk of the audience doesn't want exposure to shitcoins. And I go so far, even looking at Aave's trouble right now with the Curve Founders Loan, like the Curve token, any token that has, like, you know, not that much liquidity, a lot of circulating supply, a lot of concentration in individual holders, infrastructure isn't suited to handle those tokens. And the closest we got was Euler on Ethereum. But to be honest, I think the fact that they were on Ethereum basically hamstrung them, because they could not do the computation necessary, or they could not do the computation often enough to actually manage risk. So they had all this cool isolated risk, and it was like, well, we're on Ethereum, so we need to dumb it way down, otherwise it'll cost infinite gas. So I mean, I think what we're going to see on L2s is we're going to see risk and incentive management get way smoother, way more intelligent, way more reactive. And, you know, even going so far as to say oracles, like Atikin, imagine, for example, if, you know, we could have an oracle that was able to calculate black scholes on chain, calculate the amount of circulating liquidity on chain, calculate, you know, liquidation factors, and then create risk parameters every single block, every time someone interacts with the platform. You can't do that on Ethereum because it'll cost, you know, $500 in gas. But on something like Optimism, that's like, okay, here you got to pay us an extra 10 cents, but now you've unlocked like an insane amount of functionality. And that's kind of where we're going. And, you know, I know Atikin probably has a lot of similar ideas, and probably we'll finish some of this info and be like, hey, Sonne, you want to use some of this? But yeah, it's like there's so much space to grow in DeFi lending. Like it's absolutely mind-boggling. And it's why, like, you know, I talk about Granary, I talk about Sonne, I talk about Euler, I talk about whoever. You know, all of these people can exist. Really, like, the funny thing is, probably the only DeFi firm or the only DeFi lending company that's going to go by the wayside is probably at this point Aave. You know, it's like you read their papers, you look at their governance, it's like they're pretty much checked out. So I see people like Atikin and Sonne. I see people like Euler. I see people like Morpho trying to like claw their way, you know, into some DeFi market share, which is really hard when you have a big, you know, immovable mass like Aave. But really, like, when it comes to the next explosive period in crypto adoption, and like Atikin is saying, Bitcoin halving is coming in less than a year. You know, if we talk about a period like that, a hyper growth period, that's where paradigms change, because nobody that's new to the ecosystem wants to buy Aave tokens at like 95 price to earnings or some shit like that. You know, they're going to be looking at players like Sonne. They're going to be looking at players like Granary. Hopefully they look at players like Euler if they're able to recover from the exploit. But, you know, that's where the future is headed. The future is headed in more intelligent and more granular risk management, you know, more granular interest rate curves, smoother experiences overall. And like there's a world of opportunity for anybody working on DeFi risk as it pertains to lending markets. So yeah, I mean, like we're looking ahead right now. It's like, okay, Ethereum, you can't do much. It's going to stay expensive. It's only going to get more expensive. Sharding probably won't come until 2026 or later. And then you're like, okay, L2s, they're going to keep getting better. They're developing rapidly. Their risks are comparatively low. And we're going to see proto-dank sharding lowering, their costs of operation 10x. We're seeing constant technological improvements. And you think about, Sonne, you think about Grainer, you think about the amount of development that can be done to improve these platforms that is totally inconceivable on Ethereum. And, going back to the subject of the podcast, Optimism is so well positioned for this next generation. And the writing's on the wall. It's very obvious that Ethereum is going to become increasingly unusable. The Ethereum Foundation says it. All of the Ethereum researchers say it. They're like, L2 is how we scale. You need to get with it. L2 is how we're creating these, dynamic ecosystems. L2s are how we're creating these multi-threaded, L2 processing units. And Ethereum is just going to be there for data availability and really, really, really high impact transactions. So, risk management in DeFi and risk management tools are some of the most expensive things to compute. Because if you want to do it well, you need to do it every transaction, every withdrawal, every deposit. You want to assess system risk and adapt. And that's how DeFi gains mass adoption, because who else can do that? I mean, you can have your Swift rails, you can have a really intelligent digital ledger, but at the end of the day, the blockchain is special because it is designed to operate asynchronously. It's designed to order transactions, and it's designed to ensure that the entire ecosystem can operate in lockstep. You basically get rid of all this siloed liquidity, all this siloed data, all this siloed auditability, transparency, whatever, and are like, hey, here it is. Here's how finance is going to work from now on. I see it as inevitable, and I am a verified bag holder, so don't necessarily take my word for it, but I think DeFi has huge headwinds coming.
Yeah, I was in a meeting with a fintech company last week, and the CEO of the company asked how is your interest rates work? How can you decide on interest rate? And I said that we don't. And he said, so how is it calculated? And it's calculated every block, every 5 seconds, there's a new interest rate calculation. And he was his mind was, because he said that we were learning in a school that epsilon time interest rates, and we didn't know where it's gonna be used. And when I told him this is this, his mind was blown. And this is when I told this to Justin Bieber or Charlie, it's you will say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously,
of course. Yeah,
but
it is
those
really mind blowing.
Yeah, those people, even in the fintech business, he's a CEO of a very big company, but his mind was blown. So sometimes the thing that looks very boring to us is mind blowing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
100%. It's a very interesting. This is a very interesting subject, and going back to my initial question about the interest rates, it's a hard question to answer when you have a standard like the jump rate that's been around for so long. How would you improve this? It's well, it's working now, but a lot of it is just if we could, do these computations theoretically, which we can't now because it's so expensive, then we could do all these stuff. And I think that's something that people like me who aren't developers, who aren't builders, that isn't the first place my mind goes, where it's like, oh, in the future, all like swaps will basically be free. Like that's where my mind goes, and it's like that's scalability or whatever. But it's like the real benefit from scalability is like all these super complex computations that can happen in the background, like oracles for different different pricing and stuff like that. So yeah, anyways, thanks for your thoughts, guys. That was very interesting.
I think the thing is, by the way, like you have to have too much power or too much money to fund calculation mathematicians, finance guys to fight with the power of those big objects, immutable objects as our compound. Like they have too much money, too much power, and they have like those researchers. And what we have is like 5 people team, and like still we are doing better on Optimism because like it's all we do. But thing is, it's very hard to compete with it. But I have so much hope that like with this AI growing very fast, I think in like maybe in 6 months, 1 year, we'll have better. I think we'll have better standings compared to Aave, because like they have so many minds that they cannot change anything, and they have too much to lose if they change something. But we are not like that. And when the time comes that like the calculations are very easy, and as Beavis said, it's very cheap, etc., I think we'll have a better position than those big movers, because like they had their time, and we will see that it's the past of theirs, if that makes sense. I think it's the future I see.
Yeah, like being a nimble startup, I think, is the biggest advantage, because risks are low, and risk management can be done just through being conservative, and change management can be done just by being conservative. You don't need a committee of 100 VCs fighting with each other, and even with that committee, we see teams like Aave making huge governance fails like every month or every few months, and I think it is really exciting being on an L2 like this, and also having the bandwidth and the runway to take a whack at it, because are we going to ever see a Sonne V2, do you think?
Actually, it's not that far away, because like we're planning to make a financial NFT marketplace. Actually started to do that for like tokens like DVLO, or like if there are other financial tokens on any chains, we can list that as well. Its focus is just financial NFTs. It's like the JPEGs will not be traded on that NFT marketplace. Like you cannot trade Bored Ape or some I don't want to call shit, but some shit NFTs. But you'll be only able to trade tokens like Weevil, and in V2 we will present isolated lending to the people for tokens like that, because like the liquidity is will be very low, and the only way we can present those tokens is isolated markets. And
so we're going to create like a liquidation mechanism through this exchange. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the interest rates.
You heard it here, folks. Bother him about it every day.
Probably. So the interest rates will be probably higher for supplying and borrowing, because like it's a very risky token, and like you cannot easily turn those FNFTs to money. So yeah, but our plan is that because like Velo is growing, some Velo forks are growing. We also think that in the base chain there will be a fork of Velodrome, and it will grab some attention on that chain. So we thought that like actually the problem started with me trying to sell my VNFTs. Okay. I was searching that where can I sell my VNFT, like my personal VNFT, because like I have too much VVelos that I want to reduce my size. And somebody told me that to use QX, and when I use QX, like I thought that no one can sell anything here. But when I saw their volume, it was like 100 ETH. Of like I said, fuck that, I can do that, and we started to do this FNFT marketplace, because also VVelo liquidity means so much to us as well. As Beavis said, like as a landing protocol, we cannot list every token. Like we have to look to their history, to their code base, to their team, because like one mistake can like drain all the markets. So we have to be very, very careful, and we also want them to like have Chainlink oracles. Like there are huge requirements from us, but like we have to do it. But maybe with Sonne V2 isolated markets, we'll be able to at least try some risky things. Also we will say that if you supply here, of course you will like gain this much APR, but you have also the risk of losing all of your money, because like this token is not as reliable as, for example, W8 or something.
Yeah. How would you go about valuing illiquid tokens? Would you value a VE NFT just based on the underlying Velo, or would you value them differently? Because
it will be valued like probably some percentage of their floor market on FNFT marketplace. We'll present this unique filter called VVelo, like price per VVelo filter in NFT marketplace. Like it's very essential, but you cannot see in any other FNFT marketplace. That will be used as floor price, and some percentage down. For example, 40% down, 30% down. I don't know the percentage right now because like we have time for it, and we'll also have some experience from that marketplace, hopefully. But some percentage down from the floor, and we'll have the liquid value of NFT in the future, hopefully, sir.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I will probably use that platform. I
think
one of the
like
tough,
that's the thing we want, sir.
One of the tough things I think about getting VE Velo, like I'm motivated to get my hands on some VE Velo, or we're motivated at like a business level to get our hands on VE Velo. But the problem is the most effective way to get the size of position you want is to buy Velodrome and then lock it. But essentially what you're doing there is you're buying a liquid asset, and then at the price you bought it at, you're turning it into an illiquid asset, which is inherently much less valuable. So it's like the only way that you can acquire at the size you want is to just like chop your money or light a bunch of money on fire off the top. So actually building efficiency into that aftermarket, I think would give people a lot more reason to enter VE Velo, and it'll help kind of the VE Velo wars maybe pop off a little bit. That's very exciting.
Hopefully. Also, we will present this unique feature that like when you want to sell your VE Velo on a market like OpenSea or QX or whatever, you have to pull back your Velo from like getting bribes, like voting. You cannot earn fees, you cannot earn bribes, etc. And we'll present this unique feature of like you'll sell your NFT just after the like buying action is there, so you won't miss anything on bribes, on fees, etc. And I think that's like, if we even if we only present that idea, I think it will get some volume on that platform. So yeah, we are hopeful that that platform will work.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you list it, you still get all the fees and the bribes, and then only when it's sold. Cool. That's sick. Okay, guys, we're getting a bit in on time, and there's a couple things I want to hit. We went off on some tangents there, but they've all been interesting and or funny. Okay, I want to talk about the Sonne revenue sharing a little bit. So like people who are Sonne holders and they want something to do with their Sonne, you guys have like a pretty interesting there's a couple different options for those people. Do you want to break that down a little bit?
So I will try to be as like easy as possible. The thing is, if you stake Sonne, you get all the fees. Like that's simple. Like all the fees of the protocol, all the, like, not just fees, but all the earnings. Like we are farming Velo, we distribute it to stakers. We get OP from somewhere, like we bribes, it's distributed to stakers. Like everything distributed to stakers, because like it's the ideology of ours that everyone who stakes Sonne is a part of the team, and they all get the like, what was the word, the share of the pie based on their staking amount. And yeah, that's easy. And there's a one trick part. We also wanted people to have a choice for their rewards. For example, if you stake as Sonne, you get your rewards as Sonne. The protocol buys back Sonne tokens from the market and distributes it to you. And if you stake on uSonne, the protocol gives you USDC as rewards. I think it can create some legal things in the future. Like it's like we are walking in very thin line, like because like distributed.
Oh, don't say that. You don't know anything. Nobody knows anything.
Yeah,
I hate to put you on the spot like that.
But it's the thing. Like the thing is, like, the legal code is not still there. So yeah, we just said that we can do it now. We will do it. If we can do it in the future, we won't. It's easy. Yeah, but everything is distributed to stakers, and it's the ideology of our protocol set.
Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, well, no wonder everybody likes Sonne. Just like filtering all the
Vatican opening his trench coat and a bunch of Sonne tokens are staying in there and all the
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's get into, so is there anything that you wanted to announce? I mean, you did just announce the NFT marketplace.
Yeah, that was really
pretty
big.
Sick. I know, I wasn't even expecting that. It's awesome. Is there
we're doing this thing that's not before.
Yeah, any other news you wanted to share that's come up recently?
So we might be talking to this big Oracle company for a big partnership that I cannot disclose it entirely, but something may come in the near future. The only thing we will need for that thing is like in Turkey, we don't have any legal codes for doing business like this. So like we cannot create a company here because like there's no legal code. It's that easy. Like they are asking me to invoice every user, every customer as long as they pay fees, and it's just like unsustainable in blockchain. Like, what do I create invoices for every second for every user? Of course not. I can't even like create a name for the company because like it doesn't exist in the legal code. And that Oracle, big Oracle thing is asking us to have this legal entity, and it's the only barrier in front of this proposal. But it's written, it's ready. We are doing those meetings for at least 2 months for now, if I'm not sure. We worked on it very hard. They are also very excited, and it will be the biggest partnership of their program as well. So yeah, it will be very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So you're building this platform that's designed to collateralize a token, but you need a special oracle to make it happen. And now there's this partnership that's happening. So I think I'm connecting some of the dots here. Suffice to say, cool stuff is coming to Sonne and Optimism. So yeah, really exciting stuff.
Yeah, if we can just pass this barrier, like their legal team is very strict. I tried to convince them, but I couldn't. Yeah, like we are trying to pass this barrier, like going on forwards, meeting every day. But yeah, hopefully we'll we are hoping that we can solve this in like maybe 1 week, and we can put this on governance.
Amazing. Okay, guys, we've been running for a while here. I have one more topic that maybe we could just touch on briefly, even though it's not a small topic. But yeah, we hit some risk management, we had some interest rate chats, we got some alpha, we got some NFT marketplace alpha. That's pretty cool. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. But I just wanted to tie this back in with Optimism to close out. And now that Bedrock has been implemented, talk about the super chain a little bit, and like all these OP chains maybe starting to come to fruition, and having this big network of OP chains, and what that might mean for lending protocols in terms of sharing liquidity between all these different chains. And I wonder if I could ask you two if you can see a vision where like each lending protocol on each OP chain has access to all the other liquidity because of the standard of messaging between all these chains. Is that something you can see happening in the future? Is that like an obvious thing that will happen?
I think it's. I think the chance of it not happening is bigger than it is happening, because like in the end, every protocol is fighting with other competitor, even if they're like friends. It's not like, for example, if there's a protocol on, let's say, OPBNB, and let's say we are on base chain and Optimism, and if they want to take some pie in Optimism, it's not very good for us, right? Like even if they offer better rates or better incentives, I don't know, it's endangering us. Or the same goes for them if we want to get their pie. So yeah, I think it's like it will of course create better environment for the end user, and I think it's very, very good for Optimism chain in general, because everyone is like started to talk about Optimism. Like base chain, maybe it can just provide nothing for Optimism in terms of fees or money, etc. But everyone talked about Optimism for at least like 1 month, 2 months, and it still is going. And like Optimism has this incredible marketing just because their name is there. And it's the same goes for BNB, OPBNB. Like there's an OPBNB and everyone is talking about Optimism, not BNB. It's the thing. And I think that it's of course scaling those blockchains as well. But I think in the end, all the positive outcome, at least not all, but at least most of the positive outcome will just be the main Optimism chain out of those like super chain. But of course, these other chains will like get their share as well, because like they will have faster, they will have like cheaper, and they will have this super chain of incredible ease of messaging between those platforms. Like cross-chain ecosystems will be very easy. Arbitrage will be very easy. I think the landing protocols will not be that like how can I say shareable between those chains. But for example, the ease of maybe supplying into OPBNB and borrowing into Sonne Finance, at least comes good to in our ears. But the problem is why are we accepting their collateral? Like I personally don't want to accept any collateral coming from any other protocol that I don't know about, and I don't personally have time to look all to their code base that if they are gonna rug or not. Like I don't want to be busy like that. So yeah.
I was just imagining a lot of users, more users coming onto Optimism, and then you as a protocol being able to deploy on all these OP chains relatively easily. And then maybe like a user being able to, if they're on base and they want to supply on OP chain XYZ and borrow on base, but all through Sonne, I feel like that is going to be possible eventually.
If we we are planning to move to base, to be honest, and if we succeed on moving to base, it will be possible, and it will be very cool. By the way, I think it will mostly benefit protocols like Reaper Farm, because like they can take the money from one chain and move it to another with ease if users give access to that. And like, for example, searching through 10 different chains at the same time is very different than searching through one chain. For example, if Reaper Farm can put my USDC on Ethereum to Sonne on Optimism, it could be very good. Like it will be better, because like either way, I'm trusting that Reaper Farm will do what it needs to do, right? And I think the best outcome will be on protocols like that, like Reaper, Yearn, Beefy, etc. But landing protocols will take benefits if they have the best incentives. I think competition will get even harder for every landing protocol, including us.
Nonetheless, it's good for the chain. It's all good for the chain. It's all good for Optimism. I'm also imagining DEXs as well being able to, like atomic swaps being like not so atomic, like on a bunch of OP chains. Like, like you could just swap like pretty easily with all this shared messaging. Anyways, thanks for your thoughts there. We're approaching 90 minutes. So I don't want to keep, I know it's late where you're at. Don't want to keep you too long, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was a little bit last minute, and Atakan's been a champ coming on and talking to us about Sonne. Guys, obviously go to sonne.finance, SONNE.finance. And Sonne, read the docs. They got some OP incentives that have just launched this week. Get you some OP. and yeah, get some Sonne, stake it. It's not financial advice, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So you should consider it.
Consider it. You should give it your due consideration.
Yes.
And also thank you for inviting me. By the way, at the start of this program running, I was thinking that I will be like on every episode, but then I missed 3. Then yeah, it's kind of.
Dude, no worries. Yeah, Phoebus is mad, but I'm not. Dude, anytime you want to come on, literally any week, and you want to chat with some other guests, please just hit us up.
Yeah,
and you're always welcome.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Always welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
I'm getting back to work. Thank you, guys.
Same.
Lovely.
Good chatting with you guys.
Ending the broadcast right now.
And